You know, the changing world of philanthropy, what does it look like? You know, for years we've kind of built our methods around the 80-20 rule. Federico Pareto in Italy back in the 1700s came to the realization that 80% of the wealth in Italy was held by 20% of the people that held the wealth. And that became at least the genesis of the 80-20 rule, which is basically one that we've followed in philanthropy for the last 70 years or so. We realized that if 80% of the wealth is in the hands of 20% of the people who hold wealth, well, let's just focus our attention on the 20%. And we did that oftentimes at the expense of the 80%. And essentially what we communicated by virtue of the fact that we ignored people, that they weren't important. Well, now all of a sudden the 80% are the most important. In other words, we're going to have to depend upon them if we're going to grow organizations in the future. And you know something? Even if they gave small gifts, and I'm talking about micro gifts that might be $10 a year. We have an organization where we're working now that basically is seeking support to organizations or to their organization by inviting people to give 5 cents a day. Now, 5 cents a day is $1.52 a week. It's $18.25 a year. And basically, the other thing that we need to remember is that this is the most relational generation in American history. It used to be years ago when I was teaching this, and I've been teaching it now for 40 years. And so, I mean, we used to say that the average person has, you know, kind of a network of friends of maybe 30 or 40. Well, now the average millennial has a network of friends that's 500 or 1,000, predominantly because of social media. The average American spends 6 hours a day on social media, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, I mean, you name it, they're all on these networks. And so this organization that began this nickel a day program essentially is really doing quite well, because generally in an organization, as much as 70% of the people on a database are not engaged. So if you have a million people on your database, about 700,000 of them, you know, are basically they're either former donors or past donors or alumni, but they're inactive. And so what 5 cents a day is trying to do is to say, okay, why don't you give 5 cents a day? Well, if you had 1,000 people, and you can do the math on this because it really is pretty amazing. If you had 1,000 people that gave 5 cents a day and $18.25 a year, and they got 5 of their friends to do that, so now you have 5,000 people giving $18.25 a year, you're going to grow an organization. And the value is not the money. The realities are you're building more people that become a part of your network. And the more people that you have, the greater the health of your organization. I mean, I've talked to people, I said, if you had an organization that was raising $5 million a year, you'd think that that was successful, right? And if you had another organization that was raising $500,000 a year, you'd say, well, they're not as successful as the one raising the $5 million a year. But if the one raising the $5 million a year only had 5 donors, and the one raising the $500,000 had 10,000 donors, which one is the most developmentally successful? Well, you can answer that question. What we need is we want people who share our vision and will choose to become engaged at whatever level is compatible to their ability, and we want to engage them in the support of our organizations. That's the future of philanthropy in the 21st century.